This is the Pickleball and Partnership Podcast, the place to talk about building better connections with your partner, learning how to communicate with each other, and how to inject fun into your relationship, all through the game of pickleball. If that sounds like your cup of tea, pull up a chair, grab your paddle, and join me, your host, Charlotte Dukes, for Pickleball and Partnership. I'm joined today by two amazing women. Amazing partly because they both play pickleball, but also because they've written this intriguing book called A Pickle: How to Master Love and Pickleball and Not Kill Each Other. So Dr. Stormy Hill is a co-author of The Transformational Journey: Stories on Business, Life, and Happiness, and a certified relationship coach. She lives in Salt Lake City, where you can ski some of the best peaks and play pickleball all in the same day. Teri Citterman is the author of From the CEO's Perspective and a certified executive coach advising senior leaders and CEOs. She's from Seattle, the birthplace of pickleball, and lives in Austin, Texas, which is home to some of the top pro pickleball players in the world. They are both co-authors of the book A Pickle: How to Master Love and Pickleball and Not Kill Each Other. So welcome to you both, Teri and Stormy.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited. I think this is actually the first book on sports and relationships, or sports and love. And as far as I'm aware, I think this is the first podcast that I've found that's on love, relationships, and pickleball too.
Yes.
So that's exciting. I've been talking to our listeners about my journey to pickleball, and I wondered if you would, first of all, perhaps just let us know, how did you first discover pickleball, and what made you decide to play together as a couple, the two of you?
Well, we're not a couple, but people confuse us as being, well, this is all. I'm just clarifying. At some point, we might become a couple. You know,
Never say never.
exactly. How did my journey start on the pickleball court? So we are from Seattle, birthplace of pickleball. We never saw a court. We never heard a ball bounce. Pickleball was not a thing. And we come to Austin 3 years ago and we started playing. Anyway, Austin's the capital. I think it was actually deemed the capital recently. Isn't that right? The capital of pickleball. So there are courts everywhere. There are players everywhere. There's energy everywhere. So my husband and I, Raj, picked up paddles and started playing and never looked back. It's been a journey. There's been really good times and very low times, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. But that's how my journey started. And then Stormy will tell you about how we met.
Yeah. So similar, I started playing January 2 years ago. And I mean, we always laugh. I'm like, what did I do before this sport took over my life? Like, really, what did we do for fun? Like, who did we hang out with? So my boyfriend and I joke about that. I always I came from tennis. I was a tennis player. It was like my big sport in my life. And when my boyfriend asked me 2 years ago he's like, come play pickleball. I think you'll like it. And he'd only played a few times. And I literally said, I'm too young. I'm a tennis player. I'm not playing pickleball. And then I was like, all right, get over myself. I'm going to go try it. I'm up for trying anything. And we literally got pickled by a gentleman who's probably pushing 80. And I'm like, what is this sport? Like, he had actually had 2 knee braces on, really, real story. And I just was so intrigued by what is this sport? Which really felt like, for me, the first time I played it, felt like a mix between tennis, ping pong, and chess, just because of the strategy, which of course I had no idea even how to keep score or anything, or how to score or how to play or anything. But it just really, I fell in love with it. And now it's really like a way of life and such a joy for us, for my partner and I. Like Teri said, not all the time. We have our good days in the courts and our bad days in the courts, relationally and also, strategically. But that's how I started playing. Was my boyfriend asked me to try it, and that was 2 years ago. And then Teri and I met probably around then on the pickleball court in Costa Rica. I was just drawn to her and her energy and her amazing curls and hair and spunk and everything. And she's a good pickleball player. And I'm like, well, I want to know this woman. And so we met, and then our partners met, and we love to play mixed doubles together against each other. And then also just really good friends. And that was how we met, was 2 years ago on the pickleball court.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so funny. I mean, I'm always fascinated by people's journey to pickleball. And Stormy, I think the same words came out of my mouth. I said the same thing when my husband said, "Let's play pickleball." And I said, "I'm not old enough. I'm too young. I love tennis. There's no way you're getting me out there." Yeah, and same thing, like, isn't it incredible? You go and play against somebody, and you size them up and you think, "Oh, I've got this."
Oh, yeah.
And you are so humbled.
So humbled in the best way. And now I look at that tennis court and I'm like, that thing is ginormous.
And I know there's always lots of laughs in pickleball, and I hope I don't put you on the spot, but I wonder if perhaps you could share a humorous story from your pickleball experiences.
I gotta think about that. Although I will say, Raj, he'll go and he plays with a bunch of guys, and he almost broke a rib. He was laughing so hard. Like, he laughed so hard on the court. If only it was the same when we play.
I could go. Okay, so it is actually in the book, but it's definitely what kind of really gave me the impetus to say, hey, this book needs to be written. We need to be the ones to write it. We were playing at a tournament, a PPA tournament. We were playing in the amateur, obviously, down in southern Utah. And my boyfriend, it was match point. It was the game point. And it was a drop to my, they dropped it right over the net to my right side. And I had a hip replacement, but my hip was injured at the time. And so that was the shot, which they knew that I couldn't get to. And he literally, as we're going out, I'm running up, he goes, "You must do something with this ball." And I literally just, gripped the paddle super tight, of course, popped it right into the net, or popped it up. I can't remember, but turned around and said, "Don't ever do that again." It was right. It was match point. And I said, "Well, do you think I didn't know I needed to do something with that ball?" And a couple we were playing were like friends of ours. And they were like, "Uh-oh, trouble. That was not the thing to say." And he goes, "Well, what I meant was go, baby, go." And I said, "That is not what he said." So in the book, we talk about saying what you mean and using your words correctly. But because, obviously, and so we laugh about it now, but I was not laughing about it then. So it's a funny story now. It was not a funny story at the moment.
I love that his intention was go, baby, go, but that's not what came out. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
One of my best moments on the pickleball court was not with Raj, but it was with my a girlfriend of mine, who said, "We almost had a kitchen knife moment last night," she and her husband. And what she meant was, I almost grabbed a knife and killed my husband. And I was like, oh my God, kitchen knife moments. That's a pickleball thing. We got to do something with that. And so that's I started on this journey of doing a podcast called Kitchen Knife Moments. And at some point we still may do that. But kitchen knife moments really became kind of a foundational piece of our book, well before there was ever going to be a book.
True.
But I just cherished that moment. I did laugh. I mean, I laughed hard, because who doesn't want to grab a paddle or a knife and stab the person you're playing with sometimes?
There are coins. Definitely.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things you just said, Charlie. I love that. There's a lot of laughter to pickleball. And I think, I know that Teri and I were experiencing ourselves in our love partnerships on the court, seeing friends experience, seeing couples that we were playing against in tournaments against, experiences the loss of that, right? The lack of that, where it turns into, eye rolls and tension and or full out fighting, and impacts your relationship poorly off the court. And really, we say it in multiple different ways in the book, is let's keep the laughter and the joy and the playfulness, the thing we were all originally drawn to in this sport that we all love, and not lose that, and be able to play with our love partner, because, there's droves of couples flocking to the courts because it's the fastest growing sport in the US, multiple years in a row. It's not going anywhere. It's, it's just gaining momentum. And so couples want to play together, and just to really struggle with it. And we really struggle with it. I mean, we both consider what we call pickleball divorce, which is just deciding not to play together. And that really broke our hearts. And you were both like, come on, we're executive coaching and a coach. Like, we got to be able to do this, apply our professional skills to the court and help ourselves, help our relationships, and help others.
I love that. And I wondered what the inspiration for the book was. You'd mentioned a couple of things that made you think, oh, this needs to be a book. I sort of almost imagined, was it a few sharp words or a particular look or perhaps the slam of a car door?
It was way more than that. It truly was. What happens is when you start out at the same level, no one's ever played pickleball, even if they've been tennis players. You're learning the game, you're learning the rules, and that's when it's fun. It's really fun. But once competition starts to seep in and your competitiveness starts to become a factor, that's when it gets, it can derail pretty easily. And that's what happened to us. My husband is a champion tennis player. I'm not, and probably will never be. Well, probably is not even a word. I'm never going to be. And playing pickleball together became very difficult. It became, let's be honest, he just turned into a dick on the court, and which he is not in real life. And I'm like, who are you? Like, what is going on?
And that's in your book, right? Don't
It
be
is in the book. Yeah. This little story, because I was like, we had to consider a pickleball divorce. Well, we did have a pickleball divorce. But it was the first time in my life I'm like, do I even like you? Do I even want to be married to you? Like, I've never thought that. But we brought in a throuple, our friend Jed, who played with me and played with him doubles. And that kind of helped. We found our way back to playing together, although we do not play high stakes tournaments.
I love that term, the throuple, almost like a marriage guidance counselor in a way. This third person, perhaps. Is that what it was like a little bit for you?
No, it's more like bringing in a threesome into your marriage.
Let's just be honest.
Oh, I love that. We knew we were going to bring BDSM words into the book.
What do you think it is about pickleball that mirrors relationship dynamics so well? And I'm just sort of curious. Ever since I started playing pickleball, why specifically pickleball? And why not any other sport? I don't think we're seeing that in other sports as much as we are now in pickleball.
Yeah, I think that there's lots of because there's a low barrier to entry to like starting to play pickleball. Like Teri was saying, if you're not a tennis player, you're not going to go out and play with your significant other, the person you're dating or married to, because, you're just not. I mean, there's too high of a barrier, like an entry point. But for pickleball, that's really low. And so people are just trying to play together. They want something to do together. It's meant to be fun, and it is until it isn't. And so, I think there's that just so many couples are playing together. And hopefully you can play through your whole life together, into your 80s and beyond. That's my intention. And then I think there's, we say in the book that you're playing on the pickleball court with your lover is a powerful microcosm of your relationship. So not a mirror, but a microcosm, because both Teri and her husband and me and my partner, we have really great relationships. And then it just started to fall apart on the pickleball court as we got better. And as we started doing tournaments and things like that. And so I think it's a really beautiful, and Teri, says in the book that it's a literally a communication workshop. The playing with your partner is a communication workshop. But that was kind of our heart of the book, is that it actually can make your relationship better, stronger, so you can love more and win more points.
Absolutely. And I think, Neil and I, my husband, we would definitely agree with that. And I've talked about this on this podcast previously as well, that, we've been together for 30 years now, and thought that we had pretty good communication, and then got on the court and discovered that actually it was bringing up a whole lot of stuff for us that we can then translate back into our relationship, into our home life. So I love that you say that, whether you're coming at it because you're coming from a good relationship and all of a sudden you're discovering new things about your partner, or perhaps there's some sort of troubles there are some issues you're aware of, but definitely playing pickleball together brings that to the forefront, doesn't it?
We say it'll definitely enhance your relationship, but it will not save your marriage.
Right.
You're in a shovel, it ain't gonna help you.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Decide to have a baby to like save your marriage, like probably not the best. And I love what you're doing with those podcasts too, because of this, right? Like because of the relational impact for pickleball that pickleball is having in our relationships, for better, for worse, and everything in between, and bringing to light that, and that was really, our intention was to be helpful, relatable, and irreverent, right? We have a lot of laughter, in the book, but it's a relationship book that happens to take place on the pickleball court. That's really what it is.
Did you perhaps discover anything surprising about your own relationships while you were researching or writing the book?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Teri.
Well, I was going to say we discovered some surprising things about our relationship being co-authors, which was interesting because I have not co-authored a book. And so it was really interesting navigating the writing process and realizing, I think the best part when we were working together, Stormy said, I knew you were direct going into this, but perhaps you didn't know how relentless I am. And I was like, it's a strength and it's really challenging.
Not the first time I've heard that.
I would say Raj, in reading the book, realized the impact that he has on people. By people, I mean me. I don't think he realized how harsh he can be. Because he's tried to soften things. It really helped him develop self-awareness. Our first rule, probably both of our favorite chapter in the book, is the first chapter, which is the rules of pickleball, which is the first rule of pickleball is don't be a dick, and the second rule of pickleball is don't be a dick. I'm speaking on behalf of Stormy, but we dedicate that to Steve and Raj.
They say that they're the villains of the book, but they joke about that, but they're not. I think Teri's point that it really was helpful for them and it was helpful for us.
I think, going back to that, when Neil, my husband, is encouraging, he thinks he's being encouraging. His intention is one thing, but it comes across as something challenging for me. Or perhaps I feel a little berated by it, or, and my defenses go up. So, yeah, I love that both your husband, your partner, were able to gain something from you writing this book as well. Maybe we should all be writing books to our significant others.
Maybe. But Charlotte, that, how you just described how you feel on the court, that's how most, I'm going to say women or partners, but women feel on the court when they're playing with their husbands. And that we don't want that to happen because more often than not, I hear, oh, I don't play with my husband anymore. And we wrote this book sort of as a guide. We want women to play and we want women to be feeling good about playing with their significant others. That's why we did it.
I love that. That's so important. Can you perhaps share a practical tip for improving communication and play during a game?
Mm-hmm. The book has lots of different strategies, tools, and then practices within those strategies. Obviously, there's communication, there's feedback, there's strategic strategies, there's about vibing together, having how do you play together, what's the energy together. So I think one thing that just popped in for me, right, that it was really beautiful. Part of co-authoring a book that was so cool is it wasn't just coming from my mind, it was also coming from Teri's mind and from her husband's mind and from my partner's mind. It was really like a collective kind of IQ thing. And so Teri would bring something that she wanted to put in the book and I'd be like, I want to try that. And so we would try it. My partner and I would try it. And it was really powerful. So when she had the idea of putting intention, setting an intention in the book, I was like, Steve, my boyfriend, I was like, Steve, let's try it. What's your intention for the day? And so he told me his intention. I told him mine. We set one together. And it was a great thing that I got to experience live time, as we were practicing it, to say, this really works. There's a reason people are really into intention setting. And I do it with my clients. I had never done it on the pickleball court. And it was really great. It let me know where he was, what his desire was for the day, for the match play, and same for him with me. And so that was just one strategy that I think is just, I found to be really, really helpful and really light and playful. And we do it a lot. I would say we do it more times than not. Just driving over there right before we hop on the court to say, hey, what's your intention? And it might be a shot you're working on, but it also might just be an energy, like a vibe of hey, you know what? I'm just out here to have fun today. Or versus I'm out here to crush every ball that I can, so because those are different.
My favorite strategy, I know Stormy knows what I'm going to say, is to have a safe word. going back to the BDSM theme, is so have a safe word. So ours is pumpernickel. And when that word is said, everything stops. Not another, this is the idea behind that, the safe word. No one says another word. The whatever is happening stops. You go to your corner, I go to my corner, and we just reset. I think it's really valuable in pickleball and in life. So that's my favorite strategy. But the one I think is really one of the most important ones is to remind each other to communicate on the court, call the ball. And we just make these assumptions. I'll just make the assumption that he's going to get it because he normally gets it.
Right.
But he didn't get it. So lately this has been my thing. Like, can you just communicate on the court so we know what's going on?
And that's the title of that chapter is no one thinks they're a bad communicator, right? Because no one says, especially relationally, no one's like, I'm going to communicate poorly with my partner, right? We just don't teach it. It's not practiced until it is, right? So I love that example because asking for communication is a communication, right? Saying like, let's communicate more, right? I mean, and there's lots of videos out there about how you should be calling every ball, and it can be kind of annoying too, but it's also so helpful. It can feel annoying because it's new to say yours, mine, right? But it's great. It's a great try. And then you take that off the court and you have a little bit of better communication, which who doesn't need that?
I love that because yes, it definitely Neil and I have found that playing on the court as well is communicating, and it's the yours, mine, Also, when we were playing outside, we started to really gauge where the wind was and which direction.
Totally.
We started communicating that too. So I love that idea of really having a conversation with your partner, short words or whatever that is, and keep checking in, right? And then taking that off the court into home life as well, because I think sometimes we make assumptions and forget to check in with each other.
Absolutely. And I think, that's one of the most amazing, challenging, and beautiful things about playing with your love partner is we do make assumptions all the time. We're making assumptions, but we tend to make a lot of assumptions with our love partner. And this way we take that assumption, right? Assumption means ass out of you and me, right? It's right in the word assumption, right? Like not to make assumptions. And so we take that off the table by communicating.
And I think also the assumption or the opposite of the assumption, which is give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one where I think it's important to remind each other, I wasn't meaning to hit the ball into the net. So clearly this is not a coachable moment. I don't mean it. It's not the right time, but just reminding each other, benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, totally.
Just coming with a bit of compassion and a bit of gentleness and
competitiveness. Take that out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's a thing we hear a lot from couples. We both experienced it ourselves, Teri and I, where our partner is way nicer when he's playing with another woman besides me, and that was so frustrating for me. We talked a lot about it. It's in the book, right? Because and part of that, we were talking to our pro and down in Costa Rica who represents Costa Rica in the World Cup. She's amazing. And she was like, yeah, we have higher expectations of our love partners. So sometimes we don't extend to them the grace that we do to other people. And I was like, well, isn't that interesting?
We've definitely found that. And I know you talk about eye rolling, but that was a conversation I had with Neil as well. I noticed that his other female partners did not get the same looks that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Raj is actually very consistent no matter who he's playing.
We found in our relationship on and off the court that actually humor is a great reset for us, especially during a game. Would you say that humor has played a role in navigating your own challenges on and off the court?
That's a good question. So my partner is very funny. I'm not. I mean, I like to laugh, but I'm not particularly funny. We don't laugh a lot on the court. We did a lot more when we were not as good. And then as we got better, we don't laugh a lot in the court. But what we do is express like our love language, which we actually have a chapter in the book on that, like applying your love language to the pickleball court. So both of ours is physical touch. My love language is physical touch. His love language is physical touch. So like we were playing yesterday together and he'd been playing separately, playing on the challenge court. And then I was like, hey, we're playing in a tournament coming up, mixed doubles. I was like, let's play a bit together. We can do challenge court or just do open play. And I was like, and today I just like want it to be fun. Let's just commit to having it be fun. So we were like making jokes and, paddle booping and like, chest bumping if we had like a, being funny. in our love language. And it was so enjoyable. Both of us actually texted each other afterwards and were like, that was really fun. And I said, yeah, we needed that. We needed it just to be fun.
Almost being kid-like again, being like a child and playing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say humor is something we use on the court, and a lot of the time it is not fun in the definition of fun. But what the book has given us is some code words. And so rather than getting pissed off, I can say, what's the first rule of pickleball? And he'll know exactly what I mean.
I mean, that's true. Or we'll joke, like the other day we were not vibing on the court very well. And I go, looks like we both need to reread the book. And he was like, probably we do, and that was both of us. But we laughed about that, and rather than being like, what's wrong with you? He sets.
It takes the energy out of the moment. Yeah. Teri, I love the idea of the safe words. I think that's something, we can start to do. We've been using like the paddle touches, or we like the physical touch as well, just touching each other on the shoulder. We use nicknames as well. So we have nicknames. So when Neil uses mine, then immediately I'm like, oh, yeah, he's connected with me again.
I love that.
Happens. Yeah. I think these little things like the safe words, it's so important. Whether you're playing pickleball or you're trying, I don't know, you have a challenge at home.
Totally. Yep, exactly.
I like that. Yeah.
I like the nickname too. I'm like, and now I'm like, ooh, what would our nicknames be?
Claudia's name for me is crazy.
Do you have a favorite anecdote from the book that perfectly defines the book's message?
That's a great question. Go ahead, Ter.
That's chapter 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Chapter 1, first rule of pickleball, don't be a dick. Second rule of pickleball, don't be a dick. That's why we wrote the book. We were having the experience. We saw other people having the experience. And I mean, it's that simple. In my mind.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And by the way, like we say in the book, this is a genderless term because I have days where I'm the dick, where like I just maybe I had and then this is this thing too, like pickleball really becomes a massive part of our life, right? For anyone watching and listening, likely you are fully in the allegiance welcome to the alliance. And so what happens in life goes out of the pickleball court. What happens in the pickleball court can go into your life. And we want that to be in a positive direction, right? We want that not to like hurt your relationship. And so I think the message for me that's probably that is woven throughout the book is that you can use pickleball as a way to improve your relationship and at the same time play better pickleball, right? So that's why the really is win to love more and win more points, right? And it's in that order.
I was just signing a couple books to people who don't yet play, but they've got the paddles, they're ready to go. And I said, your life is about to change for the good.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. We want the entire world to play pickleball. I mean, just imagine how things could be.
Yeah. How healthy we would all be. Socially, interactive we would all be, how we would be learning more about ourselves and the people that we play with. Yes, I join your vision on that.
Ambassadors, that's what
we Yeah.
Pickleball for life, right? Well, I mean, and I'm sure there's going to be interesting studies that come out about, right, the hand-eye coordination and the novelty and the motor coordination that it's so helpful for, to help with minimizing effects of dementia and things like that, to help keep us cognitively sharp. It's so great on so many levels. And when we wrote the book, we just had list of benefits, and we kind of we weave the benefits throughout because there's so many of them, right? But they really are. You pick an area physical, you pick an area emotional, leisure, play, joy practices. Pickleball touches so many of these areas as far as being of benefit.
And I think I just read Dan Buettner, who had researched and written about the blue zones around the world. Just heard him the other day say that pickleball adds an additional 4 years to your life.
Cool.
And I may have got that number. Don't quote me on the number, but I believe, that's more than tennis because of the social aspect of it.
Totally. Well, so if we're playing pickleball in one of the blue zones in Costa Rica, we should be double whammy.
And I love what you said, Teri, about you were doing a book signing and there were people there that are ready to play. They haven't played yet. They have their paddles. Or perhaps, I know there are people that are thinking about pickleball and they're just not sure whether this is something they want to dip their toe into. So for couples who are just starting out or thinking about it, what nuggets of wisdom would you give to make sure that they're set up for success in the sport as well as in their love relationship?
Do you know what I'm going to say? What am I going to say?
Oh, read the book.
Well, I would say that, and I'd say read it out loud. So Raj and we love teaching new people how to play. We love it. And it's really just have fun, lower your expectations, have fun. And, and usually the guy comes out thinking he's going to be great. And it's like, you're not great. Have fun.
Yeah, I agree. Even the name pickleball just makes me like giggle like inside. It's just delightful, I mean, I remember when I first heard it, I was like, pickleball. And now I'm like, pickleball, it's just, so I mean, it makes me laugh. It makes me giggle. And then when we say that multiple times, but there's so few, well, we as adults in Western culture, we don't have a lot of great joy and laughter practices. And pickleball can be both, as well as so many other things like we already touched on. So I agree with Teri. Like keep it, we say keep it light. Like remember why you fell in love with the sport in the first place. And if you haven't started playing and you want to play, the book gives you some great strategies, but just keep it light. Remember that this is meant to be fun.
Mm-hmm. So read the book. That's great advice. I think there are exercises in the book. I'm just wondering, perhaps, and I don't want to give too much of the book away, but is there perhaps a specific conflict that you've had on the court? And if you could explain briefly how you work through that together and perhaps one of the exercises in the book you could share with us?
Yeah, I can. So we have an emotional intelligence quiz that we created in the book. So my partner is much better at the strategy. That's something I'm working on, but he just sees the court. He's more like a, kind of chess player mind. He sees the court. He's thinking one, if not two shots ahead, maybe one shot ahead, right? So I'm a little behind him on the IQ, pickleball IQ, but I'm way ahead of him on the pickleball EQ. And so when we took the quiz, it was very funny. We both took the quiz, but we know that, right? So I'm going to be more emotionally like generous and intelligent with him than he is with me. But he is going to be able to be like, okay, we're going to third shot drop it and you're going to poach it, right? So we can kind of combine the IQ and EQ, and both are important. We say in the book, if you have to pick one, like if one more relationally more important, it's going to be EQ. But you can kind of, we know that about each other. And so it's just, the quiz gave us a quantifiable thing that we already knew.
So feedback and mindset to me is a really big one. Raj is one of the best players I know. And in addition, including amongst coaches and pros that I know, and he's really good. And so I have the benefit of getting better if I take his feedback. Now, it takes me a lot to take his feedback. I have to be in the right mindset, and that is not always what I'm in. But in those times where, I really want to improve, and he's going to be able to help me if I'm open to his feedback. And so, that's something that I really try to be, not all the time, not every game, but when I'm feeling like, I've hit some kind of a spot and I want to get better, or I just want to get better, and he's going to be able to see what I'm not doing. And, there's a lot of value in what he has to say. It's my choice to listen or not.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like you say, we're more open to receiving that than other times. And I think it's important for us to express that to our partners too. This is not a good time. I'm not
a good time. Use your safe word. Tells your partner that you are not open to feedback right now, and yeah, just to piggyback on that, like my partner and I will, and it's a great strategy I use with my couples when I'm coaching too, is you can ask the other person if they're open for feedback. It's a great strategy to say like, hey, I'm seeing a pattern. Like, are you open to like me sharing what I'm seeing with you? Maybe not that might not be the time for like a conversation on the court. It might be like on the drive home, or over a glass of wine later or whatever, to be like, hey, I've noticed this like pattern on the court that I'm seeing. Maybe you're seeing it too, but are you open to my feedback? Like, are you open to my input? It's a great thing. It's really, and it also, for me, if he says that to me, it disarms me to be like, okay, am I open to it? Yes. And then actually listen, because to Teri's point, often our partner can see a pattern that we can't see.
I did it on the court the other day with a guy that I was playing with. I said, hey, I'm seeing something. Do you want my insight? He's like, yeah. I said, hey, you're swinging. you're swinging at the net and that's why it's going out. And he was like, oh my God.
Totally.
It's, asking for permission to give someone some feedback is a really powerful strategy.
Well, and Teri, you bring up another good point there, and that sometimes your partner is not at the same level as you. Sometimes your partner is, it's great in the beginning because you learn to play together and you're at that same kind of level. But there are some love partners who are playing where one is perhaps a 4.0 and the other is closer to a 3.0. And that really takes some navigating on the court.
Yeah. In fact, where I play, I often hear that from the men is, so, when I play with my wife, we're just playing because, she's not that good and I play to her level. And, and I think it doesn't have to be that way. It truly doesn't. I mean, it can be if that's fun. That doesn't sound like fun to me, but it's one strategy. The other strategy is play together, learn together, and get her up. Bring her up to the level you're in.
Totally. To piggyback on that, Teri, the book is written for anyone who wants to play pickleball with their love partner. But really kind of like our muse are women that are like wanting to play and get better and have a bit of a competitive, we all do. Everyone has a little bit, but like they want to like nourish that because we want more women to be playing this sport and to be feeling like you can play and play competitively and play well with your partner if you choose to. And so I think that's, is something that we are passionate about. It's one of the few sports where mixed is just as popular as same gender.
I have talked about this before. It's coming onto the pickleball court already with self-doubt and fears about my ability to, perform. And I think it's very important for women to feel empowered. And we're very good at putting ourselves down. And we're very good at saying, well, I'm never going to get to that level and being apologetic. And I don't think that needs to be the case. I think, yes, with the right encouragement and instruction and strategy and compassion, I think, yeah, we can definitely raise our game.
Totally. And look at the women, like the pros. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to speak for my partner and I prefer to watch the women pros play. Like, I mean, it's really incredible to see. And there was an article I read that I think Paddle Tech put it out, but about how similar, like in speed, in agility and athleticism, men's doubles is to women's doubles, right? And mixed as well. Like pickleball is I believe is a rare opportunity for women to like rise just as quickly and brilliantly as men in the sport.
Yeah, it's an equalizer. It's an absolute equalizer. And I also think, as you were talking, Charlotte, I was thinking, at the end of the day, it's pickleball. It's fun. It's about holding a paddle and a cocktail at the same time.
Right.
So, if we're wrapping our heads around this, we got to get perspective.
And I love that because that's how the game started, right? In Seattle with that pickleball paddle and the cocktail. And I love that your forward is written by, is it the son of Phil,
one of the inventors? Joel Bell wrote it. And yeah, I get to see him in real life next week when I'm in Seattle.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. We touched a little bit on the social aspect of the game. And I mean, Neil and I have found incredible social connections. And I say at our age, and I don't mean that because, oh my gosh, we're in our midlife or we're old, but I think a lot of couples get to this point in their lives where the children have grown up, they're adults, they have their own friends. It's harder for us to meet new people, make new friends. And pickleball is just amazing for that. Why do you think pickleball is such a social game?
Well, the size of the court makes it pretty intimate.
Sure.
I'd say that, starting there. Again, the idea was to have fun. The idea was, it started out as a social game. It's become really competitive and really fun to watch and fun to play. One thing I'll say is Raj and I moved to Austin 3 years ago, and it was really important to me that we really establish ourselves in a community and have friends. And so I was very intentional about that. But I'll say pickleball, having never played it in Seattle, coming here, playing it for the first time, we've met such incredible people who are lifelong friends, including Stormy and Steve. I mean, we would never have met them if there were paddles in our hands. you know? It's like this, it's a key that unlocks so much enrichment in your life. And I say that and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm all about the cult of pickleball. And I just, it's really rare that you meet someone who's a jerk on the court. I mean, I'm not saying they don't exist, but most people are great.
It's true. I was gonna say, even though that's in like our first chapter, don't be a dick. We're talking about relationally on the court, but for the most part, you rarely meet jerks playing pickleball. Like it's just an amazing group of people. It's fun. It's playful. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of encouragement. I can't get enough. I mean, the only thing that limits me is my body and this work thing.
And you don't play yet. Like, it's like,
I know.
you are so missing out. Your life could be so much more.
It's so true. And yeah, I think the community is absolutely my favorite part about pickleball. I mean, and really, I mean, like Teri said, it sounds cheesy, but it's been like life changing for me. And I said to my boyfriend the other day, I'm like, why? Like, it's hard to remember life before pickleball, and it's only been 2 years, And so it's really been just a blessing. And I mean, and I would say, I think for me, it was very heartwarming for both of us, for Teri and I, like, not surprising, like how welcoming and incredible the pickleball community has been about our book. It's not surprising at all because of how awesome the pickleball community is. But we've both written other books, and that, it's not, this was just an outlier as far as like the warm, welcoming reception that we've gotten from the pickleball community. And I think that's just represents how awesome the pickleball community is.
I met this woman the other day. She and her husband are driving around in an RV going to play pickleball all the country. Like, what other sport do you do that?
Okay, that's my goal now. That's
Oh
what.
my gosh, that is too funny.
Yeah.
And that's funny, Stormy, when you said that, because my husband said literally the other day, what the heck did we do before pickleball? Like, we are so consumed and addicted. And if somebody had told me 2 years ago, I would not have believed them.
No, for sure. Teri hasn't heard this story. I have a really funny story. So my brother is in town. So I'm talking to one of his friends the other night, and we're having a glass of wine, and he said, "You wrote a book on pickleball?" We're talking about. He goes, "You're not gonna believe this. My business partner," he said, "I told him I was going out here to ski with my buddy Win and his sister Stormy," and he says, "It's not Stormy Hill, is it?" And he says, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm literally reading her pickleball book right now because my wife and I fight on the court like just all the time."
My husband is literally at adult daycare right now. He played pickleball in the morning, and now he's on the golf course.
I have one more question I want to ask you. If there was a future episode of this Pickleball and Partnership podcast, what would you like to see it about and why?
Ooh, good question.
I know. I want to know why Anna Bright and James Ignanowicz broke up.
Oh,
I was there at the Utah PPA event, about to ask her to write testimonial for our book, and it was the day they had broken up. That would be a good one. I mean, I think, I guess kind of to piggyback on that, I have two things. One would be, obviously, this is a tough dynamic because so few pro couples play together. So that would be kind of an interesting thing about like the pro couples and, taking it kind of to that next level, like even tournament play and pro play and how to navigate that relationally would be an interesting episode. And I think I would love to like hear an episode on 10 things not to do on the pickleball court when you're playing with your partner.
I like that.
What is absolutely a no-go zone for you when you're navigating conflict? And so that might be an interesting, thing to kind of ask couples or guests that you have on, because for me, it's like raising of the voice, right? I mean, that's from prior relationships. My current partner knows, like, I'm not down with yelling or raising of the voice. It's too upsetting to me. It's a no-go.
Mm-hmm. Couples who've been able to find their way back.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me because it shows resilience in a partnership.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. I just want people to enjoy playing together. So, I want people to understand that just because you're not playing together now doesn't mean you can't in the future. And I'd love to hear more stories about people who have found their way back.
Well, if you think about it relationally, one of the things I love about relationships is that you do get opportunities to repair and restore. Conflict gives you opportunities to repair and restore. So I love that, Teri, because it's the restoration back to playing together.
Repair and restore. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that. Great ideas. So where can listeners find you and where can they find your book?
You can find our book on Amazon.com.
And you can find us on Instagram at love_and_pickleball. We've got tips and videos on there. And then also our website, loveandpickleball.net.
Thank you so much, Teri and Stormy. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm going to suggest that everybody go out, get a copy, read it, listen to this podcast, and then get out there on the pickleball court.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks for having us.
You're so welcome. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Anything mentioned, including links, notes, and a full episode list, will be over on our website at synergyhealth.org/podcast in the podcast section. If you got something out of this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe to Pickleball and Partnership on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, so that you're notified of new and upcoming episodes. And if you're finding value in this podcast, a cost-free way to support us is to leave a 5-star review. It truly means the world to us. This will help more people access these real conversations. If you really got something out of it, take a screenshot of this episode on your phone and share it on social media. Tag me at Charlotte Jukes and I will absolutely reshare your post. If you haven't connected with me personally, I would love to meet you and say hi. Thanks again for listening. Remember, we're all learning, growing, and showing up in our own ways, and that's what matters most.